down south on the land of frost and melody untiring, ain't that inspiring? Hurrah, hurrah, we'll join the Jubilee, and that's going some for the Yankees by gum. Red, white, and blue, I am for you, honest, you're a grand old flag. You're a grand old flag, you're a high-flying flag, and forever in peace may you wave.
Hey everybody, it's First Nerd, and today I'm just, again, doing something for the algorithm. However, I will note, this weekend, hopefully, okay, not this weekend, but next week, probably around mid next week, I will finally get my first actual full, complete uniform video, and it'll be a late 1967 1st Infantry Division impression. I'm actually very excited to do it. Finally, it's gonna be cool. I'm gonna do my best editing-wise. I'm glad I fixed the whole thing and everything. Anyways, yeah, so today we're just gonna be going over the differences between the two types of M1 helmets that were designed. Okay. We're talking about M1 helmets, not the M2. The M2 is paratrooper stuff. Anyways, today we'll be talking about the M1 helmet from World War II to its final progression, which is technically the 80s, but Vietnam, because it's the same helmet. So, would you believe there's actually a good amount of difference between these? Of course, the first and most obvious thing is the seam for the rim. For World War II helmets, it is going to be a front seam, and then by Vietnam, they did a rear seam, which, if I fix that, take off the liner, as you will see here, there is a seam on the, there's a seam on the rear of the thing, the rim, that's the word. And so if it's a rear seam helmet, then it's Vietnam. If it's a front seam, then it is World War II or Korea. However, there's also a little bit of differences, not only just in the actual liner, because that's a very big difference that we'll talk about, but there's also a lot of differences in the actual shape of the helmet, mostly due to the liner, and I will try my best to show this. You know, I'm going to use my blanket. I'm trying to use my covers to show this. So here is, I'll do this, and then we'll get my, all right, here we are. All right, so let's talk about the actual shape of the helmet. So if you look at them, they're actually a little different. And how they are different is, as you can see with the World War II helmet, it's a lot more actually curved downward. Now, this is a good thing and a bad thing. It's good in the sense of this provides more protection for your head. However, one reason I think they did do this, and the same thing with the changing of the liner, is to allow you to actually look up. Because trust me, if you try to look up with the World War II M1 helmets, it's not very easy. Now, as you can see the liner, you see where the sweatband is? So where the sweatband is aligns with your head. So the helmet would fit on like this. However, with the Vietnam ones, as you see the sweatband there, the helmet fits on like this. And as you can see, that's a lot of a difference. So for this one, as you can see, it will be going further down on the back of your head and comes down on the side of your head a lot more. However, for this one, it's a little bit more just, well, doesn't go down as much. And also, I think there is so the actual dome of the helmet has been changed, as we can see here. It is, instead of being really far down the front, really shorter on the front, or shorter on the front, really far down the back, we go to a bit more of an even look on it. And the actual rear itself has changed, I think has changed a little bit. Let's see. Yes, so as you can look at the rear of the helmet, it doesn't go up as much. And this rear of the helmet, it goes up further, and that, again, is to allow more articulation for looking upwards with the helmet on. Because I will say that a big complaint with the World War II helmets is it's really hard to look up with. And that mostly also kind of has to do with the liner. If you stuck a Vietnam liner in a World War II helmet, there's issues with that. First of all, if you put it on, see, it'd be like this. That front frill is going to be blocking your vision a lot more. And that's actually one difference as well, is the frill on the front of the World War II helmet is bent downwards a lot more than the actual Vietnam one is. The Vietnam one is actually bent up a little bit more, again, to adjust for the liner and how it's going to sit on your head. Which is actually interesting. It's really interesting to see how the M1 helmet actually has changed from World War II to Vietnam. It's not just the rear and front seam has changed. It's also the actual shaping of the helmet has changed a little bit to work with the liners better. Now, of course, there's also the liner differences, and I've talked about this in a different video, but we see a change in the liner. The Korean War ones look just like this with green webbing, just to emphasize that. We can see that the liner itself, the pattern, is pretty much the same, except there's a little bit of texture difference between the World War II ones and the early Vietnam ones. I have a late Vietnam War one down there. Talked about that in another video. But yeah, so there's two Vietnam liners, by the way, this one and that one. That's a mid-late, this isn't early. But as you can see, it's the same actual pattern. However, the webbing has changed. So we keep the same sweatband, and but what we change is the canvas. We change from this drawstring, which in my opinion sucks, to this, which I like a lot better. One, this is easier to adjust, because in this one, if you want to adjust how tight this is, you have to tie it. If you want to adjust how much this is, there is pull tabs right here on each of them that tightens these. So that actually is really cool. There is, of course, the backing of the canvas, and then a little canvas backing right here as well to support your head and a bit of your neck. However, with this, you don't need that, as again, it is, as you can see, when you look at the helmet, the liner is a lot further down in the World War II one. Now, also the difference, the difference is the chin straps. These chin straps have been removed because they were not used by soldiers in Vietnam all that commonly. But the internal chin strap goes from leather to canvas, and the external chin strap is still canvas. Now, there's actually something interesting about this World War II helmet specifically, is that it has swivel bells. That is a late war thing, not an early war thing, and was still quite rare for World War II. However, it was implemented for every helmet after World War II. It is going to be more common to see a fixed bale, which is going to be, of course, fixed. It's going to be straight. It's not going to be able to bend. But also, instead of being curved like this, it'll be straight. It'll be a straight piece of metal, not a curved piece of metal. Chin strap is pretty much the same. Adjustment system has changed a little bit, and the attachment system changes a bit. Actually, the adjustment system is pretty much the same on this part, which I forgot this thing actually had. And of course, but how it attaches is different. Instead of being sewn onto the helmet or on the bales, we have it as a metal clip on the bales, which makes it a lot easier to attach and detach. But yeah, so as you can see, there is a lot of difference. There's a good amount of differences between the World War II M1 helmets and the Vietnam M1 helmets. It's not just where the seams are, which I feel like is probably a big misconception. A lot of people don't actually know, unless you look at them side by side, you will not know there's a difference between the two. But yeah, and I think that's really cool that they did change the helmet to fit the new liners better. And I think that's a really cool detail. But yeah, anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.
You're the emblem of the land I love, the home of the free and the brave.